In. Can everyone hear me okay? Perfect. Alrighty, well, a great crowd to start off our sort of the slightly more academic orientation sessions that are on offer this week. My name is Jane Habner. I'm from Learning and Teaching Innovation here at Flinders, and within that, the Student Learning Support Service. These are all names that aren't important to you, other than that you know that there are lecturers at the university, like myself, whose job it is to support all students at the uni with their learning, with their academic skills, with all the things relating to their study in that way. Before I do anything, I want to acknowledge, of course, that I'm currently here on Kaurna land. We're live streaming this session, so we have people no doubt in lots of places, but for all of us, we're here on Kaurna land. It is unceded land, and we pay our respects to the traditional owners of the land. I also acknowledge that, of course, Flinders operates on a large number of different traditional lands, and I acknowledge all of the traditional owners of those lands as well. Now, we call this session Essential Study Skills for Uni, but we're going to be talking a little bit about time management, which we all think we're really good at until we realise we're not. And then we're just going to touch on critical thinking, which is at the absolute heart of university study. It is something that is critical, to all your success here at uni, and it's also something that the university doesn't necessarily directly teach. So we're just going to touch on that to give you that type of context as you begin your time here. Now, for anyone at the back, there are some seats down here at the front, which is just what you want to do. Sneak in quietly. Whenever we try and do that, usually great coordination fails us. We'll trip over someone or drop our books. It's always what happens, just to be as awkward as we can. For those in the room, who has studied at university before? A few people, sensational. Everyone else in the room is like, damn, those people. Who, brand new for you? Who's excited to be here? I love how a few hands go down. It is your choice, guys. We didn't force you, although maybe we did now. Maybe we do in a little bit of a way. Before anything, while I'm an academic at the university, administrative things are crucially important too. If I say the word FAN, or the acronym FAN, does everybody know what I mean? Everyone has a FAN? Fantastic. We love F words at Flinders. At good old FU, we love F words. Does everyone know what I mean by flow? Fantastic. If you're not sure on flow, you can get to it using your FAN, and it is the learning management system. From basically today, you'll be able to see your topics that you're enrolled in on flow. You can reach it through your Okta dashboard. If these words I'm saying, if you're the one in the room going, what the hell are these words? Today's the day while you're here on campus to make sure you've got kind of everything in place that you want and need. Who knows where Flinders Connect is? A few people, yes. A few people not so sure. When you head out of here and you go straight down, you see the library. The library, even though we have a hub that's connected to the library really is the hub of our Bedford Park campus. And for those of you here in the room, absolutely, if you've got any doubts about my enrolment, or I'm not sure what everyone's talking about with the fans and the flows and everything, you can drop by Flinders Connect, which is at the very bottom of the library building, just off the plaza, where all the free stuff is today, through those glass doors. And there are huge numbers of hands on deck to help you with all of these things. So do make sure you get these things done as early as possible. The fact that you're all here in this room, though, indicates that you probably have all of these things in place. Boring side note for students who engage early with their studies, particularly during orientation, the literature is really clear that those students do find better early success in their in the early part of their degree, in their first semester. So well done to all of you for being here today. What will uni be like? Random question. University, it is a transition. For a number of years, the area as an academic at Flinders that I worked in was actually called transition. We spent a lot of time focusing on this very real journey of transitioning into university. It is a transition academically. Who has come very recently from school? Yep. And you'll have heard teachers who are always grumpy with you at school saying things like, well, that's not going to work at university, and you're not going to be able to do that at university, and university, no one's going to chase you up, and all these horrible things about university that are completely untrue, except for there is some truth in the sense that it is a different learning environment to secondary schooling. It's also a really different environment if you're one of our many students who are coming to uni after many years in the workforce. And you think, I'm pretty set to go here, I work professionally, etc., etc. There is a transition involved in university. A lot of people like to refer to it as being a place where you learn to learn over time. If you're looking for a seat, there are still some at the front. But when we think about university, there are going to be some new expectations, some new ways of studying, and I touched on critical thinking, some new ways of thinking. There are still some seats at the front if you want to trot down. There's a couple that look easy enough to get to from this side. You might get clambered over to reach those ones. We'll see how we go. Oh, fantastic. Well done for those moving over. But one thing that is really important in life in general is that sense of belonging that we often feel with people and places that we are engaged with or hopefully connected to. And the idea of a sense of belonging at university is actually really important. Things might seem a little bit different at first. For some of you, it is not a sign that you don't belong. And for those of you who had those teachers who talked about university as an independent learning environment and no one would chase you up, etc., etc., while there is truth to it, you have chosen to be here, and the responsibility does fall to you in terms of how much or how little effort you put into your studies. This is not a place that doesn't have a huge amount of support. So when we think about what university will be like, we can talk about all the different skills that you'll learn, separate from the content of your discipline. I really want you to take away from this session that this university has a huge amount of support that's on offer. People like me who support students academically. We have FUSA, the Flinders Uni Student Association, who don't just put on all the great free fun stuff with O-Week, but do an awful lot of work for students in terms of advocacy if you need it, free financial advice, different things that happen there. We have health and counselling, we have careers, and if you don't quite know where to go to ask someone, just ask anyone who works at the university, because we will get you to the person that you need to speak to. So do take that message away from this session today. In terms of what will uni be like, you will develop a really wide range of skills, but it's important to know you won't do it all at once. It does happen over time. If you did develop them all at once, we wouldn't need degrees to be so long. So we'll touch on critical thinking a little bit, but you will develop critical thinking skills. You'll certainly develop deeper reading skills. Who enjoys reading for pleasure? Who enjoys reading for study? You're just lying. You are in the first row just lying to us about how much you enjoy reading for study. Reading for study can be hard. And at university, the texts get kind of dense. They can be complex, not just to cause trouble, but because the content in them is complex. Do you need any help? Yeah, straight through there. But you will, in time, develop your academic reading skills. You will learn a really large number of new styles of writing, and you will begin to write differently to the way that you did before. And there's no question you will laugh at those who say, I did a lot of research, and what that means is they had a look at Google. You will develop really strong research skills, but not all at once, over some time. And time is the thing that I do want to talk to you about for a bit in this session. That one thing that many of your teachers may have told you about the independent learning environment, it is not the same as going to school or to a workplace, 9 till 3, 9 till 5, many days a week. So you'll all be, no question, studying a range of different degrees, but most regularly, the topics that you enrol in at Flinders are based on 13 or 14-week semesters. So this is orientation for semester 1. And of course it runs then through until sort of late June-ish. There is a mid-semester break in April before we reach the end of semester, and then we commence again semester 2. So while there are some topics that you might do that are intensive, and you might do them, for lots of hours within a week, there are some seats down the front if you want to fight your way down. And is anyone doing nursing? Yeah. Look, apologies, everyone. Nursing, they just do whatever they like. Nursing, like a couple of other degrees, but nursing is the really big example here at Flinders. We have a really big, really good nursing program here. But because, obviously, of accreditation, of registration, of how important it is that nurses know exactly what they need to know, nursing kind of runs from the beginning of the year till the end of the year, and you're just always doing something for nursing. In fact, I'm always doing something for nursing. It's like we all work for nursing here at Flinders, but for most topics, it looks like this. And what that means is the first few weeks, you're settling in and you're having fun and you're meeting people and everything's going super well. And then all of a sudden, in about week 6, lots of assignments are due. And you think, why didn't you space them out for me? And we say, we didn't. And we don't, because we can't give you a big assignment to do at the end of your first week. Why not? Why can't we give you a big assignment and get it out of the way at the end of the first week? Well, I wouldn't put it that way. But we haven't taught you anything yet. Absolutely.
Because we're still figuring out the system.
Exactly. You know an awful lot, but we can't assess you on things that you are expected to learn in one of our topics if we haven't taught it yet. So the reason we want to talk a little bit about time management, while often maybe towards the end of week 3 you might have a small piece of work due, or you might be in a topic with little things incrementally along the way. Often those bigger first assessment tasks are due in week 6 or 7, and then it feels at the end that everything is due at once, because at the end we're assessing you on everything that you've learned in the semester. So what we need to make sure is that we are able to manage our time so we don't go, yee, things are going super well, and then in week 6 go, oh, what the has gone wrong for me here? Now, we've got people online, and I'm sure many of those who are joining us remotely may well be online students, and they may be asynchronous or not have scheduled classes. Everyone in the room, do you have scheduled classes? Yeah, making you turn up at some stage. You receive a timetable, obviously, of your classes, and they're referred to generally as your contact hours. So the hours that you have to be on campus for a tutorial or a workshop, etc. There are some seats at the front if you want to push your way down. They look at me like I don't want to do that at all. What's really important is that the hours that are your contact hours aren't the entirety of the expected hours you will work on your study. Generally, you can say that a standard topic of Flinders, which is a 4.5 unit topic, and many of you who are in the room will be enrolled full-time with 4 topics. Some of you part-time, 3 topics, or 2 topics, or 1 topic, but a 4.5 unit should have approximately 10 associated study hours per week. So a full-time load is 40 hours a week. What is, of course, really important, as we touched on here, is that that is not going to be each week. In fact, I'm going to say maybe next week you're going to do significantly less than 40 hours. You're going to have a really good time next week. Then the week after that, maybe still a good time. And then the week after that, you'll be like, oh, I've got to do a little bit more here. So this is where we want to talk about due date tactics or being really strategic with our time management. We want to maximise our time. Many of you will have maybe already got or seen the A3 study planner that is given away to everyone who wanders anywhere near the university at this time of year, and it is for the year. One of the things I strongly recommend is a weekly planner, whether you do that with a calendar on your phone, whether you do it with a good old-fashioned diary or an A4 planner. Do have a really good think about a couple of different things. You could have these contact hours if you were studying very much here in the humanities, in this very lecture theatre. You might have these study contact hours, lecture, tutorial, you might have a screening, etc., etc. Quite often for, hey guys, there is a little bit of room here at the front. For a tutorial or a workshop, you will have some readings. These take time, and so you want to be factoring them in. Little bit of advice. The amount of reading that many students need to do at uni is a lot. You do want to be really strategic with it. So if you have a reading that you need to do for a tutorial and you get busy and you're at work or you're having fun or whatever it is and you're not able to read the whole thing, I implore you, make sure you've read a bit of it. This is where we do need to be strategic. If you're given an article to read, in all likelihood that article may well have an abstract at the beginning. An abstract is literally a shortened version of the whole piece of work. Read that bit so that when people are talking about it, you know what the reading is about. You haven't done a close reading, you're not going to have that type of nuanced understanding, but make sure you've done enough to be able to look like you've come prepared and are ready to go. Right now, most of you will be like, I'm going to do all my readings back to front, and absolutely. But then in week 6, when you've got assignments due, you're like, I haven't done all those readings now. So this is where you do want to be as strategic as you can. The other thing to think about, and this is where the planner, the big A3 planner is a good one, is with assignments, beginning to work backwards from when they're due. So if everything is due in week 6, or the first few bigger pieces are due in week 6, realistically, how early can you start that assignment? Now, as we joked, you can't start it until you've learned a little bit about it, but you absolutely can be looking really closely at the assignment details. What are you going to need to do? Have a really good look at the marking rubric or the marking criteria. Quite often students feel that these are items that belong at the end. A marking rubric or a marking sheet, as some schools call it, that's something that I'm going to give you at the end after I mark your work. You want to be looking at that before you've even started to say, okay, I'm being assessed on, 20 points on referencing? Well, then I really better make sure I've got something to reference and I'm referencing it correctly, as an example. So you want to, we'll touch on chunking in a little smidge, but you do want to chunk your work. Get into a weekly planner, sort of starting that assignment, maybe looking at a plan, maybe heading to the Learning Lounge where colleagues that I have can help you plan an assignment, can help you make sure you understand the assignment details. That might sound like, in a way, almost a little patronising thing, as though you're not going to understand the assignment details. One thing that happens often with students is that they write early on a really, really great piece of work that doesn't actually address the very specific question that they were asked or that they were set. So we want to make sure we really understand what we are being asked to do. So we're not writing some sensational thing on a related topic, but not at the heart of what's needed. The other thing, you absolutely need to factor in having some actual fun, although family dinner, and on a Saturday night, come on guys, no, maybe on a Sunday night. You want to factor in who plays sport every week, absolutely, who works, who has kids. A few, absolutely, and I imagine many of our colleagues who are joining online probably do. Caring responsibilities, going to the gym, all the fun things and some of the less fun things, but things we still have to do. They all need to be factored in. So this is the student planner, the A3 one that I was talking to you about. And I really strongly recommend, if you don't have it yet, you pick it up. It's available almost everywhere this week. Flinders Connect, down in the hub, etc. Grab one. It is really useful because it has all the uni dates on it, those important ones around things like census date, the break, that's also important. Exam week, still important in some areas. Because we then no longer sort of have the set time provided by, potentially school for study, etc., we want to begin to think about study sessions. Now, this isn't some attempt to get you to sit in the library every minute of every day. Who feels they're a morning person? Who feels they are not a morning person? If you're a morning person and you know that, think about, okay, when might I think about doing some study? I'm pretty good first thing in the morning. If you know you're not good late at night, don't leave it till then, because that's not going to work out for you. What's really important, this idea of, as well, kind of chunking your study sessions. So you're like, okay, I'm going to do half an hour or an hour of study Mondays, Wednesdays and Thursdays. They're the days that I'm actually on campus for things, so I'm going to be in the zone, and that's when I'm going to do my preparation reading or look at what I need to look at on flow before a lecture, etc. Don't make them really big, long sessions. Why would I suggest maybe not making them long sessions? You'll get bored and you'll get distracted, absolutely. Any other reasons? That's the big one, yes? Pardon? Burnout, absolutely. Productivity falls off, absolutely. Who sometimes thinks they're going to be really productive and they wake up on a day and then all of a sudden they're not very productive, they're not motivated, you're not feeling it. Do not think, I've got Fridays free and I'm going to get everything done on a Friday. Because if you wake up on that Friday and you're not feeling great, or there's other fun things happening that you might want to do more, then you've missed what is a huge amount of the time you had put aside for it. And obviously that means then you haven't done the work, which is a problem. But the other big thing is you're then not going to feel great because you're like, oh no, I was going to do it and I didn't do it. And it is amazing how quickly that can snowball and all of a sudden you feel really, really behind. So short, sharp study sessions. Absolutely. If you are someone who operates really well in the morning, do it in the morning. If you're someone who loves staying up late and that's your time, and all of a sudden you're rearranging all your furniture because you're completely with it at that time, make that the study time. A lot of students, particularly if they're only on campus a day or two a week, you're not here, and then a lot of other things can pop up. A lot of students go, you know what? On Tuesdays, I've got a class, it starts at 11 o'clock, I'm going to come at 9 o'clock and I'm going to sit somewhere, whether it's in the hub, in the library, in the endless study spaces we have for you all here at Flinders, and I'm going to make sure I do it then. Or I've got a class that finishes at 1 p.m. and I'm going to walk out of that class and I'm going to sit for a while and do it then. Get it done. And then you're going to stay on top of things and also get that really good feeling of being on top of things. Motivation. Anyone studying psychology in the room? Yep. Anyone education? Yep. You'll spend some time in your degrees talking about motivation theory. We do it in terms of learning for students, and obviously it's a large part of psychology, or a part of psychology. Motivation is that funny thing. It's like, who's studying science? Newton's first law of inertia, that basically sort of a big object won't move unless it's pushed, unless something gets it moving. Motivation is exactly the same thing. If you do a little bit of something, you get into it, you're feeling good, you get into a rhythm, etc. Motivation wanes never quicker than when you haven't even started. And then all of a sudden, you're not feeling great. So this idea of the old joke, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. I'm going to spend time passionately trying to tell you that starting your assignments early is the best thing you can do. And you will all do your assignments the night before they are due. And that is absolutely how it works. If there is not a deadline, I never do a damn thing, literally. But if there is a deadline, I'll meet it every time. The best thing you can do with your assignments is break them down, start them early. Even if you're not writing early, read those assignment details as early as possible so that you do that in week 1. And in week 3, when they start talking about the heart of what the assignment is about, you're expecting it, you know it's important, you're going to be asking questions. So in whatever way starting an assignment looks like, sometimes it's just thinking about it in our heads. Do it as early as you can. Know what's coming. Know what you are going to need to do. And remember me when you're madly doing it the night before it's due. And that's this idea of chunking that many of you would be well familiar with in terms of time management and project management work. It is when we break larger tasks into small, achievable tasks. If you've got 3 readings that you need to do for some workshops during the week, you might think I catch the bus to Flinders, I'm going to just read a little bit of each one on the bus each day. Begin to, just with that in mind, begin to really think about how it is you learn. This is where you're learning to learn It's learning to learn the way that suits you. If you're somebody who reading is a slog, but listening works better, everyone at Flinders, all students and staff, can have access to Read and Write. It's a piece of software, but there are many different pieces of software that do it. But what it does is obviously read out text to speech or to sound. It reads out readings for you in a slightly more human way sometimes than just the general PDF one does. But this is, these are ways for you to work out how you're going to study best, and then to be able to break these things down and get them done. The other thing I just mentioned is think about the difference between being task-orientated and time-orientated. When I had a lot more time, I was more task-orientated. How long did I have to do something? As long as it took to do it. Think about becoming really time-orientated. How long do I have to do these activities on Flow I need to do for this upcoming lecture? I have half an hour to do them. And that's how long you spend doing them. How long do you have to read whatever it is you need to read? I have 45 minutes. That's how long it's going to take me. When you've got a lot to do, it can be really important to think, no, time-orientated, not task-orientated. If we think task-orientated, how long is something going to take? How long is a piece of string? Which I've never understood, because a piece of string is some sort of length. It could be a really short piece of string. It does not matter. Spend a few minutes on this very important topic, which is critical thinking. Before I do, because everyone would love to speak up in the lecture theatre, does anyone have any questions around that kind of idea of maximising your time? Anyone got any good tips they want to share with others?
So I have a very basic question. I don't know if you covered it when I stepped out. So assignments, like where will I be able to find it?
If you want to learn more about assignments, let me spruik a little session that starts in this room at 10:30, and the presenter is so charming because it's me. And it's not about assignments, and I literally screenshotted a Flow topic yesterday to show you exactly where you're going to find your assignments. But for those of you who are like, she's not that charming, I don't want to come back, in Flow, in whatever your topic is, go to your topic, you land on it, that landing page. On the left-hand side of each Flow topic site, I should say, is a menu that has everything you need. It has assignments. It has readings. It has a link to something called extension requests, your best friend. If you need one, request one. Goodness me, we approve them. Request one. If you need one, not if you don't. But you'll find all of the links there for all of the things that you need for any topic. And obviously the ones students often go to earliest, and I recommend you do assignments. Look at what the assignments are, when they're due. And the other very big thing with assignments, and I'll touch on it in a smidge, is how much they're worth or how much they're weighted. If you have an assignment that is worth 10% of a topic, of course that's important, you want to get it done, you are going to spend less time on that than one that is worth 30% of a topic total, or 40% of a topic total. So that's where we want to be really obviously strategic with our thinking. Okay, I said at the beginning we'll touch on critical thinking because it is at the heart of university study, yet it is something we don't necessarily directly teach or have direct instruction on. Who wants to give a bit of a definition by what it is we might mean by critical thinking? You're my favourite person in the room. Critical thinking is thinking critically. It is indeed. What do we mean by that? What do we mean by critical? Important? Critical can have some really negative connotations, as in my mother can be quite critical of me, and that's not how we mean it. We can think about critical thinking or the idea of being critical as being critical or criticising, but when we talk about critical thinking, what we're talking about is looking critically. We're looking analytically, we're evaluating to come to the best possible conclusions on any given topic or issue based on what we know. We do it in two kind of really specific ways at university. We do it when we are reading or engaging with the ideas of other people, and then we do it when we are writing or creating our own knowledge. But before we look at those two, it's important to note that we can also think about it very much in our own personal way of thinking about our thinking, questioning why it is we hold the views we do or the beliefs we do. Almost everyone in the room will go into a degree that at some stage you'll be taught something that basically you don't agree with. Now, in terms of critical thinking, we want you to question what you're taught. We want you to debate each other, fingers crossed, as respectfully as you can. And kind of disrupting thinking and wrestling with ideas is at the heart, obviously, of being part of a university community, as you are now here at Flinders. You want, if somebody says to you, I believe this, you want to say, what evidence do you have to support that view? But just as equally important is if you hold something very dear and believe something very strongly, you think about what evidence you have to believe that. Where does it come from? The other really important thing is, what would it take for me to change your mind? If you hold a view so strongly that your answer to me is, there is nothing you could say that would get me to change my mind, then there might be something wrong with the belief that you hold. Because we should all be able to encounter new knowledge and go, wow, that actually is a new way of thinking I wasn't aware of, and I have to say I agree with that. It's not easy. For those of you going into psychology, you'll be aware of that idea of cognitive dissonance when we actually encounter something that really kind of makes us feel like we really have to question some things. But in terms of critical thinking, we think about our own thinking, and then when we do it in this very academic sense, what we spend our time doing when we are engaging with the work of other people, so information that you might have delivered to you in a lecture theatre, or of course what you will encounter in your reading. What we're doing is identifying what authors are trying to say. So identifying and analysing arguments. What claim are these authors making? What evidence do they have to support what they're saying? We're evaluating logic. As I said, we're evaluating evidence. So the idea is that we are assessing the ideas that we encounter, what it is we read or what it is we see, these knowledge claims, to see how strong or weak or convincing they are. Many times things can sound very convincing or persuasive based solely on language choices. And then when you look more closely, they're not quite as convincing as we first thought. We encounter this a lot in a few spheres in life, politics, the media, advertising, etc. Things sound very, very persuasive until we look closer and realise they are not. So we apply our critical thinking skills in this way to what we read, and then we do the same thing for the knowledge that we create. when we make our own claims, we want to be presenting strong arguments. An argument at university is simply a claim plus evidence. That's all we are talking about. We're not getting into an argument. It doesn't have to be a really strong for and against some topic that there's this side or that side and you're on one of them. An academic argument is simply a claim plus evidence to support it. What type of evidence do we need? Good, credible, reliable, relevant evidence. So with our critical thinking skills, when we create our own work, we want to present strong arguments, we want to acknowledge debate. It is a stronger argument if you can acknowledge that there is a different perspective. But for these really strong logical reasons, it's not the one that you're choosing to put forward. We always acknowledge our own limitations, and these are the ways that we use our critical thinking skills to contribute to knowledge. And in the end, that's what you're all doing. When you think about your move into university, you can think about it as joining a conversation, a scholarly conversation with all of the academics or the lecturers, the teachers that you'll be working with, as well, of course, as all of the seminal thinkers in your field that you will be reading the work of. So how does critical thinking shape your study? Reading at university, you're looking for key ideas and arguments. You're not memorising every word. Who likes to highlight? Now be honest. Who takes their highlighter and highlights the entire page? I think at the heart of the word highlight, you have lost the meaning of the word highlight. We don't want to highlight everything. It's just a couple of key ideas. And doing it in different colours doesn't make it all right. Don't make your entire page yellow and then orange and then green. We're not about memorising every word, and we're not about sort of reproducing simply what it is we read. Reading at university is looking for ideas and arguments and then trying to see how they connect to the different readings that you've done, the different ideas you've heard about, and putting them together. And as I said, writing at university is like joining a conversation. So you're explaining your ideas, you're supporting them with evidence. And the lucky last thing to think about, and I will finish up in a minute so that some of you can get to your college-based sessions that start soon. For some of you, not for a lot of you, is this idea of referencing. Who feels confident with the mechanics of referencing? Who feels less confident? Yeah, absolutely. Nothing wrong with that. Exactly how you really should be feeling as you make your start here at Flinders. Referencing is the most obvious and common way that we meet the standards of academic integrity. You see the word there that a lot of people think about, this idea of plagiarism. But what we're really just talking about is we demonstrate our critical thinking skills by acknowledging where ideas have come from, how they connect, and then how it is we're using them to create our own knowledge. So in that sense, academic integrity, referencing, is a really positive thing. What I do want to say for everyone who popped up their hand a little bit concerned about, say, referencing, or for people who might have ideas or concerns, around some of the things we touched on with reading and whatnot. I said at the beginning, what's uni like? It is not something you do alone. When it comes to your learning or the academic side of things, myself, I've got a colleague who's popped in, Nicole at the back. It is our job to support you all with this. If you're like, I'm not really too sure about this referencing business, right next to Flinders Connect, when we're open, which I think is about 10 till 3, Monday through Friday, when the semesters are on, You don't need an appointment. You stop by, you speak to someone, you say, can you help me with this referencing malarkey? Can you help me with these assignment details? Can you help me plan this assignment? I'm not sure where to start. We've got workshops, we've got online resources. You don't need to know all of this now because we're always here whether you like it or not, and you can come to us anytime you wish. But I would just say one of the most common ways that students engage with us is with our learning advisors in what we call the Learning Lounge. For those of you joining online, I'll wave at you again. It's also something you don't need to do on campus. You can join whenever we're open online. There are lots of details on our website. I really hope you all have a fantastic start to the week. Because you have found me so charming, as you all agreed with earlier, I might see many of you back here in about 15 minutes for the next session. And if I don't, I hope you have a sensational start. Thank you.